Aha. You snuck in on me. I wasn't ready for you.
Hey, can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I can see you too now.
All right, cool. All right. So, I was looking over my notes again, and I can't remember much about what we talked about the first time. Right? So forgive me if it seems like I'm going over stuff. Let's start with this. So everybody, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel. This is episode number 16 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, and we're talking with Mark Stewart, who is enjoying his morning in Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Right. See, because I always used to get that wrong. I used to think that Mark was in Singapore, but you cleared that up for me. You were in Singapore for a while.
Yes, I was there for 2 years.
Okay. All right. And now it's in Thailand. So he's a Jeet Kune Do globetrotter. But I got to ask you this. Can you clear up something for me? What is latter stage Jeet Kune Do? What is that?
Well, it's something that it's a term that I came up with.
Okay.
But basically, it describes what most of us know as the Chun kickboxing.
Okay.
And again, this is my reference, of course, is from Sifu Enosanto and Sifu Lukai Lukai. But
Yes.
then after Guro Ted passed away in '96, I began to train with Ted Wong, and so pretty much all of his material was taken from that latter stage of Bruce Lee's development, which was his private sessions in his backyard up there in, well, wherever it was. I can't remember where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and basically, it's not that you can't call it gung fu, but basically it's it has less Wing Chun in it. Or the Wing Chun that did remain in it is totally modified because the structure and delivery system changed.
Yeah. Okay. So you call it the Chun kickboxing. So now where would?
Well, no, I call it latter stage JKD.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But are you saying that other people might refer to it as when they see what it is, they might call it Chun kickboxing?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
All right. So now, even though it's called latter stage, does that mean that that doesn't mean it comes towards the end of your program or your teaching or whatever? The latter stage.
No, it's just a reference, a time reference to Bruce Lee's development during his life.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
I got it. Okay, good. All right. So the first move from Los Angeles, when was that? And that was to Singapore.
No, actually, from Los Angeles, I did move to Thailand, and then I opened a gym in Bangkok in 2001.
Okay.
But then a good friend of mine opened a security business in Singapore, and we got a contract teaching the law enforcement there. Okay. Actually, the Customs and Border Patrol agents, and so I worked there teaching defensive tactics for 2 years from 2005 to 2007 in Singapore, and then moved back to Thailand after that again.
Okay. And if it's not too personal, what prompted the move from Los Angeles? I mean, everybody kills to get to California, and you left it.
Yeah, as a teenager, getting involved in learning martial arts when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
I was in 1974. It was in that Vietnam War era. And I was always really fascinated with Asian culture, East Asian culture. And it was always a dream of mine to live in Asia. Actually, I first visited Singapore. My first time I went to Asia was in Singapore to visit Randy Williams for a month. He had moved there from Los Angeles. He's a Wing Chun instructor.
Right.
And then I started going back on a regular basis teaching seminars, including Japan. And I really fell in love with Japan, but things didn't work out there for me. It's a very expensive place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually in 1994, I paid a visit to Thailand and trained at the Sidyatong camp in Muay Thai camp in Pattaya. So I fell in love with the place, and then finally, made it back for the big move in 2001.
Okay. Now you mentioned the Thai boxing training. You had been amply prepared for kickboxing training because you were a professional kickboxer.
I was amateur.
Okay. Okay. But you did a ton of kickboxing. Now, for those of you who have never taken a look at Mark's martial art curriculum vitae, right? I'm a simple-minded guy. It's hugely confusing because chronologically there's so much overlap, right? So I'm gonna ask him to try to clarify that for me. So, for example, now you pronounce the Okinawan. I think it's Okinawan system that you trained in because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. And how do you pronounce it?
Weichi.
Yeah. See, I call it Weichi. Yeah.
Yes, it's like the founder of Aikido. His name is Weishiba. Wei, like W-A-Y, Weishiba.
Yeah.
So Weichi is that same thing. Wei.
Okay. So that was your absolute start in martial art training.
Yeah, formal training. Yeah, but I mean, I was into boxing before then. But I mean, I didn't compete in boxing, but I definitely learned boxing before I did karate. But yeah, I mean, that was my start of Asian martial arts. Yes.
Right. Okay. And while you were in karate, you started training in Doce Pares, Eskrima, and Pakiti Tertia.
Yes, sir.
Now, okay. Now, where in that timeline did Inosano and Lukai come in? Was that before Doce Pares or after?
No, everything from 1974 to 1986 was all in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
Okay, so, but my first reference, to the Filipino martial arts was with Doce Pares, and it was first only Doce Pares because the instructor, he was from Cebu, and he lived also in the same town in Kalamazoo. He happened to be a second dan in Shorin-ryu Okinawan karate, and that's how I met him. But he told me he taught our niece, and so I started with him in that. Then basically he met Leo Gahe, and so he converted over to Pakiti Tertia. And actually I trained with Leo Gahe back in 1980, like for about 48 hours worth of intensive training. So it was wild. It was off the hook. But anyway, so all right. So getting back to what we discussed before, my buddy Louis Campos was living in Chicago, and he was learning Serrata Eskrima at the time. But he would visit our dojo in Kalamazoo to train Weichi-ryu, and so him and I would share back and forth with what we were learning. And he and I was reading the articles about the Kali Academy in Torrance and Black Belt Magazine and Inside Kung Fu and all that stuff. So I said, shit, I got to get out there, man. And but so Louis went first, and he beat me to it. I think he moved in 84, 85.
Okay.
But my first Inosanto seminar was in Lansing, Michigan. And I think it was 1984 that I attended Guro Dan's seminar. Yeah. And then eventually I moved to California, to San Diego in 1986.
Okay. All right, man. It's still it's still somewhat confusing. But what I want to ask you about this, with all of that, right? Have you ever heard people say, like, they think that it's a criticism, I guess, of the JKD people because we're cross-trained in so many things, that I've heard people say, oh, well, they'll get confused in a fight. They won't know what to do because they've trained in all these different things. So if some jackass said that to you, what would be your response?
I understand why they would say something like that, but
you're such a nice guy.
But it's not necessarily true for everyone. I guess where I would start to say is that, when we use the term blending or mixing things together, that in reality, that's kind of like layman's terms of things. Basically what you do is you align things. You take gems, you take gems and quality material from the facets that you cross-train in, and ultimately you will create your own personal hybrid, And just because you know, you and I train, let's say we both cross train in the same arts, doesn't mean that we're going to come up with the same thing.
Right.
And furthermore, yeah, when the shit hits the fan, there ain't no time for thinking, and there ain't no confusion. It's all, you know, it's hypermind, you know.
Yeah.
They call it mind of no mind. I call it hypermind.
Okay. But yeah, so one thing I've noticed, you have your own particular twist on expressions. Like you seem to have a specific approach to language. Am I right?
I think so.
Yeah. Where did that come from?
I really don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, research and development, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is there anything in your past that you would say prepared you for your present? I mean, you said you were always fascinated with Oriental culture, but I mean, did you like go out and study stuff and what have you because you were drawn to that culture?
Yeah, I think you know, it would have to be actually what happened was I actually read the Tao of Jeet Kune Do before I actually saw a Bruce Lee movie. So that would be about 1975, I think, when I got the book. 74, 75.
Okay.
And, yeah, 75. I guess it came out in 75. So so the whole thing about Taoism, Krishnamurti, and Zen Buddhism,
Yes.
was really enlightening for me. And from that point on, you know, kind of the ideas of yin yang and understanding the dynamic relationship of opposites and how things work has been, you know, the biggest influence of my life. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Would you say you encounter that dynamism between opposites on a daily basis?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, because, you know, I've come to the conclusion, maybe I shouldn't say conclusion, but at least while I'm alive, right? For now, that basically what it means to me is when I see the yin yang symbol, and when I see Bruce's connotation of the arrows around it, you know, that means dynamic movement. So it's not just black and white. It's not just binary. The whole binary idea is a starting point in your mind to understand it, but in reality, it's in motion and in flux. And so to me, it means appropriateness. So balance could be 80-20, 60-40, da-da-dee, da-da-da. And so situational ability to adapt and flow is yin yang.
You see, there you go again. You're doing it again. The ideas and the words that are being used, the phraseology that's being used to express the ideas. Where did that come from?
I have no idea.
Right? Because
I think really it's just from talking shit so much.
Right? Because it's evident to me that it's a result of a lot of contemplation. It's not, you know, it's not just, you're not copying anybody. When I hear you talk, it's not, oh, somebody said something that was cool and you remembered it and now you're regurgitating. I can tell that it's original thought. And that's, you know, that's one of the things that gets me really excited about people in Jeet Kune Do. When you can see that they have used the art to enhance themselves. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So, so again, thinking back to your youth, did you consciously prepare yourself for this type of stuff, or it's just serendipitous or something?
Yeah, I was just attracted to it. Yeah. You know, I was attracted to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So did you spend any time in like traditional religion or anything as a kid or what have you?
I was raised as a Catholic, and so that means on Saturdays I missed all my cartoons and shit. Yeah, because they have something called catechism, right? And they make you miss all your cartoons and you know, learn about the Catholic religion and stuff. So yeah, that didn't work for me too well.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have respect, but I have respect for man's need of religion.
Yes.
So yeah, I have respect for the things that man needs.
Okay, I get it. So talk to me about Louis Campos, because you mentioned him, and on your website, on your web pages, you give a lot of credit to him for for being instrumental in your development. So I know Louis from my greatest memory of him is associated with Pendekar Paul de Torres.
Yeah.
Right? That's what my greatest memory is, even though I know that he was a member at the Inasano Academy. So tell me a little bit about the time that you spent with him and how that came about.
Yeah, well, when I was still in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he would visit to train at the dojo, I think we saw each other probably, I don't know, maybe four times a year over a few years period. So that was just more how you would say igniting the spark and developing our friendship from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
We were a little bit different in the sense that I was a combative sports competitor. I was heavy into the point fighting, the karate point fighting, and then I made the transition into kickboxing.
Yeah.
So where he was more into quote unquote martial art only, I was branching off into actually fighting and stuff. But anyway, really we got to be really close friends. Once I moved to San Diego in 1986, he was training at the Torrance Academy, but it wasn't the old Kali Academy. It wasn't the IMB. Maybe it was Carson. It was the Carson. What was the gym called in Carson?
Geez.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, because that was during the period where Sifu Dan had two schools.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Louis was training at Carson, and he was also training with Randy Williams in Wing Chun in Monterey Park, or South San Gabriel. It was actually South San Gabriel, but same neighborhood, little New Chinatown area. Yeah. And so I lived in San Diego. Oh, I loved San Diego, man. I missed that place. And then I would drive up to every weekend to spend the night at Randy Williams' house and train Wing Chun on Friday night and Saturday morning after watching Pee Wee Herman. And then on Saturday night we would go out drinking, and then I would spend the night at Louis' house, and then we would train Kali and Muay Thai and Jun Fan the next day. And so that I pretty much did that every weekend, and commuting from San Diego up there. Yeah. And then Louis switched to the Marina, Dan's other school, the Marina Del Rey, the first one. And then I made a move from San Diego to Laguna Beach in Orange County. Yeah. And then I would commute to train at Guro Dan's place, and that's where I met Ted Lukai, and we became very close. And I basically went in the direction of becoming a full-time student of Ted Lukai.
Okay, because in '87, because we talked about the black belt, it was black belt October of 1987. There was an article about Guro Ted and about him opening up a quote unquote commercial Jeet Kune Do school. And what do you recall what people were saying back then about the commercial aspects of Jeet Kune Do?
Actually, it seemed that the article implied that was the situation, but I had never heard anyone talk about it, to be honest with you. Okay. Yeah, so maybe it was an internal kind of thing,
Yeah. I mean, I seem to recall, but maybe it's my own mental fabrication, but I seem to recall that there was an attitude that I encapsulate it this way: whatever the Taekwondo schools are doing, we don't want to do that. Right. That's kind of how I remember it. How long did Guro Ted have the school? Do you remember?
Well, you have to actually. I think your time frame was a little off. Okay. I think that article was way earlier than that because Ted graduated from. Well, he was in Sifu Inosanto's second backyard group. you have the first backyard group. They did all train together, but half of the group started before the other did. And so Tim Tackett's group, they graduated first. Ted Lukai, Chris Kent group, if I have the time frame right, graduated in '75. And they also trained at the Kali Academy in Torrance. So directly thereafter, Guro Ted started opening a few different schools. So he had like 3, I think, at one time: San Diego, Santa Ana, and Huntington Beach, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but that's before my time. You know, I didn't meet Guro Ted till 1987 at Guro Dan's Marina Del Rey Academy.
Do you know my most vivid memory of that article and showing photographs of his place was, I forget if it was in the bathroom or if it was out on the training floor, but it involved a mirror and a sign that asked the question, "What is Jeet Kune Do?"
Yeah, me too. I saw that right away.
Yeah.
I said, yep, I'm going there. Yeah, that was lovely. That is lovely. Yeah.
I can recall that. I ripped that off, and we had that in the bathroom at my school for a while. But we also had another set of signs that I ripped off from the Krause brothers of Scotland. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Okay, so they had a sign that said something like, so when over on the outside, as you were entering, it says, now entering Krause brothers, leave the real world behind. Right? On the flip side, when you were exiting, it said, now leaving Krause brothers, resume normal behavior.
That's lovely. I like it.
Yeah. So we ripped that off at my school for quite a number of years, right? So you've had experience with the so-called commercial structure, but you have not embraced that. You don't have a bricks and mortar school.
Well, I've had many. I'm just not a good businessman.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first gym was when I was 20 years old. My first dojo in a small town in Michigan, and it did quite well for a couple of years. And I started getting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you say yours, you ran it. You owned it.
Yeah.
You elected the dues. That kind of stuff.
Yes, sir.
At age 20.
Age 20. Yep.
Wow.
But I was getting so much into the kickboxing that it didn't work for me, so I let it go.
Okay.
And plus I started cross training more in like Wing Chun and Kali as well. So I didn't have as much time to devote with just doing only karate, you know.
Yeah.
And
so when was the second school?
Go ahead.
When was the second school?
In Canoga Park, California. It was in a little industrial unit, you know, copied after Guro Dan's place. And
yep. Me
and
too. Actually,
the funny thing is, right, is that Guro Ted and me actually lived there for a couple months together. So it was cold. It was a cold part of the year. It was the winter, right? So we had the folding mats. And he goes, "Here, Mark, let me show you how to stay warm at night." So we created like a cave with the folding mats.
Okay, so
so then basically you know, my goal was actually to teach in Chinatown, because again I was really interested in the Asian culture, and I go, well, what the hell? I said, you know, JKD needs to be back in Chinatown,
right? And
so I started teaching at the Alpine Recreation Center in 1992.
Okay.
And then a year later, I opened my first gym in Chinatown, and then eventually had 3 or 4 different locations, you know, in LA Chinatown before I moved to Thailand in 2001.
All right, and that's where the name Boxer Rebellion came in?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And what
name again, you know,
what name do you operate under now?
My take on Boxer Rebellion, right? It was a really interesting historical thing to me. And I thought to myself, well, but Bruce really is the Boxer Rebellion, you know?
Okay.
So I kind of put the two together, you know.
Yeah.
Made reference to the actual historical one, but basically, you know, with Bruce Lee and JKD, the idea of the Boxer Rebellion is the revolution of the self.
Yes.
Making progress on,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and being progressive, not in being avant-garde, but making progress on as a human being, you know.
Yeah.
Becoming better, and
Yeah.
then thus influencing everyone to become better.
Okay.
You know? So that's the Boxer Rebellion to me.
Let's backtrack again. Did Kung Fu movies play a role in any of this?
You mean philosophically, or just the whole attraction?
No. Well, did you grow up watching Kung Fu films?
The first martial arts I saw in a movie, well, I have to step back. The first thing I saw was Kato, you know, the Green Hornet.
Okay.
As a kid, you know, I watched Batman and I watched the Green Hornet.
Okay.
It's just that Green Hornet didn't make it that long.
Yeah.
So, but then again, I was introduced to martial arts by seeing the James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice.
Is that the one with Odd Job or something?
Yeah, it's the one where he goes to Japan and he disguises himself as a Japanese, and they have ninjas on the island and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that particular movie at the theater, they used to have like mini documentaries before movies during that time.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually Masoyama and Kyokushinkai.
Oh.
Yeah, before the James Bond flick.
Really?
And that day, my eyes went boom. You know?
Yeah, I taught myself the first 3 katas of Kyokushin from Masoyama's book.
That was an excellent book.
Yeah, I taught myself. But then here's what I discovered. They're called oh shoot, what are they called? I forget what they call. But they're identical almost to the first 3 kata of Shotokan.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. See. So
yeah. From my understanding, Masoyama studied Goju-ryu under Yamaguchi, and then also the Shotokan under Funakoshi. So it was already a hybrid. Kyokushin was already a hybrid. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. See, I think it's kind of interesting that you know, when you find out more about the history of these things that we consider classical and traditional, that they too were a blended method.
All of them were.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I was still trying to get to the point of whether or not you had a favorite old school, like Shaw Brothers Kung Fu film or something, or did you come on board?
No, I really didn't get into those too much. But I do remember the first one I saw was Five Fingers of Death.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people start with that one, right?
So I didn't really get back into that genre until I was turned on to Jackie Chan.
See, that's when I got out of it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because I was such a strict kung fu guy. I couldn't take the kung fu comedy that Jackie Chan brought.
Right.
You know, to me that was way too satirical, and so I didn't watch a whole lot of Jackie Chan stuff at all. You know, right? So now with all of this training that you've done, with why did your life end up being devoted to martial art? Why martial art? Why not did you go to college and study something and then give it up completely?
No, I just had a couple years in junior college, and basically this will be interesting to you. I only studied English courses and writing courses because in preparation to write articles for the magazines on martial arts.
Makes sense. And you did do that.
Actually, go ahead.
Yeah, you did do that because I can remember, well, you've been on the cover of a number of magazines, and also you produced, how many video series did you produce?
I produced 2 on karate and 2 on kickboxing.
Right. That's what I thought. And tell me again.
But I was in a ton of other ones. I was in
Randy
Nicholas
Williams.
Sanyak, Sabat. I was Randy Williams. I would go Ted.
Yeah.
Yes, I was a few other ones too, you know.
Yeah.
But I was just a dummy. I was a dummy.
Right. So I'll tell you a story about Guro Ted's videos. His I think it was his 1982 series where Barry Schreier and Tri Nguyen and Blaise Lung and David Hines appear, right? So
yeah.
So just the other day on my on one of the Facebook programs, I mentioned, you know, Blaise Lung because he shows for a few seconds in a documentary, and he got in touch with me, and you know we plan to get together and talk some more about Guro Ted. And I remembered, but I got you here, so I remembered Cass Magda said to me once that in JKD, it was something like, you want your kickboxing to look like a Chris Kent, and you want your weaponry to look like a Ted Lukai.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me put the onus on you. Why would Cass say that about Guro Ted's weaponry? What was special about him?
Yeah, I mean, it's just he had a signature style, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I called the Kali that I teach, call it Kali Abtik.
Yeah.
Abtik is kind of, we talked about this, it's like a kinetic chain of movement leading to bang, a focus at the end, right?
Yes.
And or the Chinese call Fa Jing or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And so Guro Ted really expressed that in all of his movements. So it wasn't just entirely, it wasn't fluffy.
Yes.
You know that if you confronted him, you're going to be hurt.
Yeah.
But you're going to be hurt in a pretty way. It would be beautiful and painful.
Right, yeah. He'd kill you with class.
Exactly.
Right. And now Guro Ted's background, let's see if I remember this. Who was he instrumental in introducing Inasano to?
Oh, well, that would be Ted's father.
Okay.
Guro Lucky was the one who, Guro Lucky introduced Guro Dan and included Guro Ted Lukai and his wife Tanya, Subing Monroe, his then wife. And so they were introduced to the Stockton Masters, and that's how they met Angel Caballas and Leo Heron and Ben Largusa and Johnny Lacoste. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah,
man. See, this is why I'm glad that every week we can talk to somebody like you, because there's this magical history that's involved in the JKD clan, and I don't want to say that it's separate from Bruce Lee, because it really isn't. All of it blends, to use your word from earlier. But if we don't talk about this over and over again, I think that history is going to disappear. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I like to spend time talking to guys like you. So again, going back to the idea of, I don't think I formulated it well enough. Tell me why your life ended up dedicated to martial art, if it's possible to answer that.
Well, I've always been small in stature, but I was always good at sports. But in regards to like sport teams and such, you know, once I stopped growing, I didn't qualify for team athletics, right? To a certain extent. And so martial art became that individual sport. I mean, sport to me does not necessarily mean only competition. Sport is you know, athletics, let's call it, right?
Okay.
And so besides the attraction to the beautiful violence, I need something to do athletically, because I was an athlete. And so why I stuck with it was probably the philosophical aspects that we had discussed in regards to yin yang and understanding that dynamic relationship. So yeah, I mean, athleticism and the philosophy, I would say. And plus, I love doing it, and so I was always one of these guys who would read, "You got to do what you love, dude," and I always fucking hated working, man.
Right.
I mean, I've had some good jobs and stuff, but I'm the one to be my own boss, and so that's the honesty.
I know. I know what you mean. So tell me again, because we talked about this when we first tried to do the show. What have you learned specifically? What did you learn specifically from karate that you retained and brought into your non-traditional training?
It would be an introduction to the importance of structure, and in fact, triangular structure, and how it applies to the body, and also the idea of the bent knees, the pelvis tucked forward in order to create a compact unit, that type of thing. Yeah, and also, I mean, just the by the way, we call that san chin. San chin means the 3 battles of the mind, body, and spirit, and that actually is a dynamic tension exercise to where you're doing what they call Okinawan iron body training. The hitting of the body and the development of all that kind of thing. And those are the components that remain with me mostly from Waichiro. Yeah.
Okay. That iron body stuff, did you cross that over at any time into Wing Chun?
Well, I mean, even they or some schools of it do Sulium Tao with dynamic tension.
Right.
But their delivery method would be different.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we talked about this before. My latest project is what I call Kun Tao Karate, and basically I'm kind of aligning things from Okinawan Chinese and Southeast Asian empty hand arts. Yeah. There's a lot of relativity already, but what some are missing, the others have, and that's kind of it's been a lifelong project actually, but I'm kind of putting things together on it right now.
Right. That triangular aspect in the Wichi-Ru that you talked about, when you discovered the triangle in Wing Chun and the triangle in Kali, what did you think?
Yeah, that to me, I mean, again, it's that I see, Bruce Lee's epiphany is what he called the human style. Right? Unless there's a being with more than 2 arms or 2 legs, there's only one style, the human style.
Right.
So basically, those things, those gems, or those reoccurring things that you find foundationally, structurally, physics-wise, kinesiology-wise, those are the things that that you're looking for to create your personal hybrid. It's not all the different. Well, you have to be fair about it, because you are attracted to other styles because there are differences. But you, as Guro Dan said, basically you're looking for common denominators as well.
Yeah.
And then try to figure out now, why are some of these common denominators actually a little bit different? So, there's a positive and negative aspect of cross-training, at least simultaneously in a number of different styles, because you'll be corrected by each coach that you're not doing shit right. But yet, I mean, how can you say, they're very small little things that are done differently, but there's a bit of redundancy in cross training as well, if you catch my drift. Yeah, yeah. So, and again, like Chris Kent used to say, basically it's about developing the discerning eye. You don't blindly cross train. Right. You are after specific things that you want to enhance yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, if somebody said to you, all right, I want you to break down for me and tell me what it is that is important about these specific things. So we're going to pretend that somebody's saying that to you. So they said to you, tell me what's important about the Jun Fan portion of what you practice and teach? What would you say?
Okay, well, so I'd have to start that reference point with, again, what I call ladder stage JKD.
Okay.
And as I said, I'm working on a book called the JKD Engagement Continuum. And so basically, the way that I understand it at this point is that it's actually an upside down pyramid. It's taught from the tip down to the base instead of from the base to the tip. And what I mean by that is that basically anything starts with the understanding of the 3 timing factors: before, during, or after. This is in regards to interception or striking.
Mm-hmm.
I either attack you on your preparation,
Mm-hmm.
during your advancement
Mm-hmm.
and attack, or after. And after, of course, means I've avoided and returned on riposte, or I've parried and da-da-da, or I've trapped and da-da-da.
Yeah.
So before, during, and after are the starting points.
Yeah.
Then it's the building block of actually disengagement. How do I control distance with the least distance and position with the least chance of being hit back? Now that's a high level skill, but that is what I teach right away. I mean, this is where we start with it. And so, and then it goes on down to engage different stages or levels of engagement. Parrying or deflecting, trapping, grappling, but with all the same end result being striking. In other words, I evade to hit, I parry to hit, I trap to hit, and I grapple to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that we would refer to, that's a kind of an easy way to describe the engagement continuum. And so that's the way that I teach JKD or Chun Fan.
Yeah.
And things like Chisao or compound trapping, I still teach those things, but they're not emphasized. I teach them, number one, to show the root material, where it came from and how they do it, but
Mm-hmm.
then I will modify that so it complies a little bit more to the understanding of the way I teach the engagement.
Okay. Now, no, that's as people would say, that's deep. What are the? Have there been any obstacles that you had to surmount, or any hurdles that you had to get over in conveying that type of sophisticated information to students?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to yin yang again, right?
Okay.
Is that just like the idea of training simply or training simple things or complexities, right?
Yeah.
That's a binary understanding. Training simply actually is very complex. And training complicated can be simple, right? Yeah. So different people are wired differently, right? Yeah. And so like when you bring that up, when I begin to point out things like that, some people's eyes will just gloss over and they don't know what the hell I'm talking about, while others will click into it right away and say, oh yeah, man, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have to do a bit of both, you know, you have to be adaptable as a teacher as well.
Yeah. The people who find you there on the beach in Thailand, do they, I mean, because I imagine that that's a little bit different from, you know, the people who find me here in a metropolis in South Florida, right? What do they come to you looking for?
Well, first of all, so I haven't had my own gym since I closed down the Bangkok gym in 2005. But my students reopened it. They still have the same name for it, but I never get up there anymore. It's just out of the way because I'm out in the boonies. But so basically, where I live in Satahip near the beach, as you say, basically I just have people come in for privates. They'll come and stay at a resort, and then we'll train together, you know, at the resort, or even sometimes in their hotel room, or outside next to the pool and the grass. But these are people that have either attended my seminars or are instructors under me already, or going through the process of doing that. Yeah. So basically, it's just a hub for me here, and I travel and teach every year in Singapore, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Australia, and then this year, actually on the 20th of this month, I go to Sweden for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Then I go from Sweden to Michigan, and then teach my Midwest circuit, and then from Midwest to West Coast, and teach that circuit, and so that's basically my yearly gig.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'll keep you busy and keep you out of trouble.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So and that's the plan. In other words, if you say if we're talking again in 2028, will you have said the same thing to me? That on the 20th of September, you're going to be doing this, and then you're going here, and you're going there, and you're going there?
Right now, I'm still in expansion mode, but I can see actually going in the opposite direction as time moves on and consolidating the best ones.
Okay, I see.
However, we still may open a gym down here where I'm at because we have a new international airport that's just 5 minutes away. And so things are picking up down here where we're at.
Right.
So we may actually try to open some sort of a camp, but it'll be a Muay Thai camp basically.
Yeah.
But we'll still feature the other methods that we offer as well. Yeah.
Is that because when you take the temperature of when you take people's temperature when it comes to martial art, their Muay Thai is something that's on their minds? Muay Thai is something to which they're attracted predominantly?
Yeah, I think, it's been a long time over here in Thailand that things have picked up in regards to foreigners coming to train. Yeah. And Muay Thai is really big now internationally as well.
Yeah.
It's kicking ass everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And I think it was boosted by MMA actually.
Right.
Because, the top fighters gave credit to Muay Thai as being a big component of their stand-up fighting.
Yeah.
And even MMA now in Thailand.
Uh-huh. What do you make of that? Because let's see, Dan Inosanto's involvement in Thai boxing goes back to what, 1979 or something?
Right.
Right. So what do you make of like you just said, Muay Thai is big internationally, and it's due to the MMA. I mean, because sometimes I stop and I go, man, what took them so long?
Yeah.
But then I also go, well, was it us? And by us, I mean those of us in the JKD clan who were exposed. I started Thai boxing in 1984, right? Why? Yeah. How come we didn't make it popular? Do you have any thoughts?
I'm sorry, someone's at the door. Hold on one second. Oh, that's my wife. I'm going to have to let her in a second. But anyway, yeah, I think because we taught it as a martial art instead of a combative sport.
And
I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying that it took off as a combative sport as opposed to a martial art per se. But still at the same time, we were the ones to get it out there first, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I heard an interesting comment a couple of days ago about the jiu-jitsu and how apparently there's a trend now, or there has been a trend in jiu-jitsu where people are actually using silat stuff in their jiu-jitsu and not given credit. Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything like that?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of that as well. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Dwight, I'm going to unlock the door real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hold on. Come on, dogs, let's go. I'm still doing my interview. Okay, so I'm back, and my wife's back from dropping Sarah off at school, so I had to let the dogs out or they go crazy. It's only one of those examples. It's surprisingly refreshing when people in this day and age of YouTube, and there's so much information out there. I mean, what better time to live in the world to research and create your own hybrid? I mean, all the material is out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshing when you see people actually pay respects to the source of their material. And some people are actually doing that on a consistent level.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that. And a lot of others, they're just not. It's just, you know, you can see right away where they got it from, but they just don't give credit to the source.
Yeah. So if we could do the time travel thing and we could go back, is there anything you can think of that you would try to put in place that would have made more of a difference, that would have made more of an impact on present day martial arts situations?
Yeah, I would have clearly distinguished the genres.
How do you mean?
Life skills, combative sports, defensive tactics or combatives, it's also called.
Mm-hmm.
You know, traditional, this and that. People have been confusing the things a little bit too much. And if you clearly define the different genres and encompass the entirety of martial art, it's more clear to people on the direction that they should choose. So I would just say, educating people from the beginning, you know, that everything is not the same. Yeah. So, okay. Now,
What about specifically inside of the Jeet Kune Do clan? Is there anything you can think of that you would do differently or that could have been done differently?
That's a very controversial question.
I know. I know. I'll go first.
Well, okay.
I'll go first.
Yeah. I
think that one of the biggest mistakes was the idea of non-commercialization. I wish that instead of having the idea about being commercial, we had used the adjective being professional instead, because then that would have cleared away a lot of that negative viewpoints, because what we have to offer is as valuable as a lot of stuff out there and much more valuable than a lot of stuff out there. And so the idea that we should keep it hidden to a certain extent, that's something I would change. So that's my take.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
I'll take the first volley of arrows. Now let's get your take.
Okay, so I'm going to get in trouble for this one, but since you asked me, I mean, you know, I have to play. So basically, I believe that there's so much conjecture involved in regards to JKD. So there's a lot of half-truths or half of the picture, let's say, in my opinion. And so the way to eliminate the friction that we face now, that I think we face now, but a lot of us are getting over that friction, by the way, too, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say that what I would have changed again would be educational in regards to the clear differences of the time periods of Bruce Lee's method during his lifetime. Okay? Yeah. And I think that his family, to some degree, wanted to get that done, but that shit never worked out. And but I have, in my own opinion, for my own understanding, a good understanding of the different time frames and references. Mm-hmm. And then also, I'm honored and glad to have, you know, learned from Guro Dan and Ted Lukai, and to be exposed to the idea of what, you know, Dan used to call the Jeet Kune Do concepts, which kind of referred to the cross-training thing, right? Yeah. And so all of that is highly important to me, but it would have been good in the beginning to recognize and compartmentalize all of them and their progression, and people would know where to fit in. In other words, it was kind of like your other question. It's like, you say, oh, I do martial arts. Well, what the hell does that mean? Oh, I do JKD. Well, again, what the hell does that mean? Yeah. So, you know, yeah, educational understanding of the different time periods of development of JKD and how they changed and why they changed, which may involve conjecture again, because people have different opinions. But that to me is truly educational method of understanding it. Yeah.
Well, I think then with the projects that you're working on, the Kun Tao, the Karate Kun Tao, and the what was the name of the other one? The book that you were,
Engagement Continuum. JKD Engagement Continuum.
Yeah, Engagement Continuum. Well, I think that will definitely add greatly and contribute to the store of Jeet Kune Do knowledge that's out there. Because, you know, I think that the information is out there, but unfortunately, it's information that people have to go get. And that's much more difficult, right? It's so much easier to find a BJJ school, to find an MMA school, to find a Muay Thai school, whereas the knowledge and understanding that you get from Jeet Kune Do is not going to show up on your doorstep. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get, you know.
Correct.
So I think that we have to continue to do what we can to make sure it stays out there. All right, so listen, it looks like everybody's waking up around you and your day is starting.
Yeah.
My day is starting to wind down. So I want to thank you for spending your morning hours with me, and let's stay in touch and do this another time.
Cool, Dwight. Thank you so much, man.
My pleasure, man. All right, have a great day.
All right, take care.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.